are you still also want to throw your hat in if they call on you for a moon mission? And those are my questions. Thanks.
Oh, thanks for the questions. You know, the spacewalk, yes, is a very exciting thing for me. It definitely won't be make or break for a mission. Just launching with a crew like this and working as an expedition on board, whatever gets thrown at us is going to be exciting and totally successful in my mind, no matter what the outcome is. So spacewalk, yes, that would be awesome, but not required if it's not in the cards for some reason. Moon mission, I think everybody at this table would say yes, yes to that. So I am no different from the rest of the crew when it comes to looking at future opportunities there. And then I think you had a third part embedded in there question somewhere.
Yes, Mr. Reliable. I had not heard that, but it definitely tracks. We are super, super grateful to have Luke on the crew, and particularly for me to have Luke side by side next to me as my pilot. He absolutely is always backing me up, both technically and with the interpersonal side of our team skills, making sure that everybody has what they need to be as successful as they can. So I certainly appreciate everything that Florida put into Luke to make him who he is today.
We have another one on the phone bridge, Manuel Manzotti with Exploration Espacial.
Thank you so much. A question for Sergey. I would like to know if he's been preparing or if he's going to perform an EVA during this mission. And if that's the case, what would be the objectives of the spacewalk? Thank you.
Что касается ВКД, в Центре подготовки космонавтов я прошел подготовку, готов выполнить эту работу, если понадобится. Но по организации станции член экипажа Роскосмоса, который летит на корабле Crew-13, на корабле Crew вообще, в общем, работу по ВКД выполнять не должен. Но полностью подготовку я прошел, если понадобится, работу выполнить я могу. Спасибо.
I have been trained to perform an EVA, and I'm ready to do one if needed. But in general, the disposition of Roscosmos is that a crew member flying on a Dragon vehicle, in my case that's me flying on Crew 13, is not supposed to perform an EVA. But I have the necessary training. Thank you.
We are going to go back to the room here with Will.
Thank you for another question. Also for Sergey. Can you talk about your road to becoming a cosmonaut? I know everyone that eventually ends up in space has a different path, whether you wanted to do that since you were a little kid or whether that came later in life. I wonder for you, how did you find your way to this, and was it sort of a circuitous path, or was it pretty much you knew you wanted to be a cosmonaut and you did all the things to get to that goal? Thank you.
Путь был прямой, но начался, скажем так, он в взрослом возрасте, уже я был зрелый на тот момент. В детстве я мечтал быть моряком, и моя судьба была связана с морем. Я закончил военно-морской институт, начал службу на Тихоокеанском флоте, в конечном итоге служил на подводной лодке. И бывает в организации нашей встреча с космонавтами. Эти моменты очень памятные для космонавтов и для подводников. И в конечном итоге в 30 лет я узнал о том, что можно стать космонавтом. Узнал о открытых наборах и попробовал свои силы в одном из наборов. И в 2021 году я приступил к подготовке по космической тематике. Скажу так, что я просто люблю работать, что это было на подводном флоте, что это сейчас в космонавтике. Я просто получаю от этого удовольствие. Спасибо.
My path was direct, I'd say, but it started later in life. As a kid, I wanted to be a seaman, I wanted to be a sailor. So I graduated from a naval academy. I served on the Pacific Fleet, on submarines, but in the course of my career at some point, I had a meeting with a cosmonaut. Those are regularly held, and I was told that actually there is an open contest and one can try to become a cosmonaut, which I did when I was 30 years old. And that's how it all started, and I started my cosmonaut training in 2021. But for me, I just love to work, be it submarines, be it space, I just love to do some work. Thank you.
We're going to take another question here in the room. Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Howell from Canadian Geographic. This is also for Sergey. Do you mind sharing any fun training stories working with Josh?
Смешные моменты, может быть, и были, но я их как-то не запомнил. Скажу по подготовке, очень серьезно Джош относится ко всем шагам, которые мы выполняем. Очень помогает мне. во всех наших действиях, потому что мы специалисты миссии, у нас есть определенный набор задач, и если где-то есть смешные моменты, но это, скорее всего, не во время подготовки, а в моменты, когда мы проводим время, скажем так, вечернее время или в наших поездках. Спасибо.
There may have been some funny moments. It's just that I cannot remember a single one of them right now. But I can say that Josh is extremely serious in everything he does in his training. Every step he makes, he does it with utmost seriousness. And there are certain steps that we need to take as mission specialists. There are certain things that we need to do, and he helps me all the way in any action. And there may have been some funny scenarios, some funny moments, but not in training, but when we had free time together when we had dinners and individual time. Thank you.
I would say the exact same thing about Sergey, seriously.
We're going to take a quick question on social media. I'm Jim Full on Instagram asks, how do you prepare yourselves physically and mentally before a typical launch?
Yeah, good question. So I'll start with the physical training, the physical preparation side of things. We certainly have to maintain, good body health across the board in order to be ready for our mission on board the space station. We have to maintain our kind of physical readiness to do our EVA training. Is certainly very physically intensive to manipulate the suit for long periods of time underwater is how we do most of our training. So for one, in order to complete the training, we have to maintain a certain level of physical readiness. And then there's a medical kind of health component where we also want to prepare our bodies for the challenging environment of space. We know that we will experience some potential bone loss, as well as some changes to our cardiovascular system on board. And Josh mentioned some of our countermeasures, some of our capabilities and equipment that we have on board the ISS to help combat some of that when we get on board. But starting with a clean bill of health and being as strong and healthy as we can heading into the mission helps us set the bar relatively high for when we get on orbit. In terms of mentally preparing, I think there are maybe two aspects that intertwine sometimes, but the technical kind of mental preparation for the mission is certainly something that we have all been going through together as a team, ensuring that each of those aspects of training that we talked about, that we are all absolutely competent and ready to participate in our particular roles. And then, of course, there's a more of a mental health and making sure that our support systems are mentally prepared as well, ensuring that our families have the support that they are going to need, that we have the support that we are going to need. We are supported by amazing teams of folks on the ground who help us stay connected to those support systems that we each have, and I think that helps us be prepared from a mental standpoint.
We're going to take another question here in the room in the back row.
Hi. Is there any particular skill that surprised you by becoming essential during training?
You want to take I can try and answer to that, and then we should hear from some others maybe. I get asked a lot, like what's the most important skill to being an astronaut? Should I study this or that, or should I be this or that? And for your question, the thing that I think I've noticed going through all this training is it's a pretty subtle skill. If I look at everyone in the astronaut office here in Houston, very different people from very different backgrounds. I'm a test pilot. There's some of those, but we have geologists, we have scientists, we have doctors, we have had a veterinarian. I mean, we have so many different people. But they all have one thing in common, and I think that's what I'd give as my answer. The common thing that they have is that they're just really easy to get along with. They're really skilled at integrating into new teams in different situations and just sort of being straight up the middle, not the flashiest person in the room, not a non-contributor, but a really good contributor to teams, really good at integrating with different people. I think that's maybe a not so often talked about, but very valuable skill that goes a long way in astronaut training.
Yeah, I'd say that skill with this crew was particularly, maybe that was the surprising piece, is just how quickly we integrated and gelled. 9 times out of 10, if Jessica's thinking about something, I'm thinking about the same thing, and one of us might beat it to it, or Josh might bring it up, or Sergey. So I feel like throughout training, we're always synced up tightly in operations, and that may be surprising a little bit. Just maybe not every crew has that kind of almost collective one-brain style mentality.
We're going to go back on the phone bridge for another question, this time from David Curley with Full Throttle.
Jessica Watkins from a very humid D.C., Maryland, Virginia. You're a geologist who became an astronaut, and now you're slipping into the commander role. Can you just talk about the evolution of, coming into the program, going to space, years of training, and then you're in charge of this crew?
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely a privilege that I do not take lightly to have been able to make that transition through time. I think certainly when I think about the differences in the training flow from my first time around to this time, I think the first time I was a little bit more focused on myself as an individual contributor, ensuring that I had the skill sets and the capability to do my part and to ensure that what I was able to contribute was going to contribute to my crew's success. And I think now being in this role as commander and having flown once before, I think that experience has enabled me to take a bit of a step back and provided some bandwidth to be able to focus on my crew and really think about what my crew might need, anticipate what they might need, from a mission overview standpoint, but also just from a kind of just on a human level. Having had this experience and seeing what challenges both I and my previous crewmates faced, being able to try to preempt those as much as I can and prepare my crew for what I expect that they will experience as well, has really been a really neat challenge for me and a really fulfilling process to be able to step into.
We're going to take another quick question from social media, but as a reminder for those on the phone bridge, you can press *1 to enter the queue and *2 to remove yourself from the queue. And for those in the room, you can raise your hand if you have a question. Tatum Sigmund 34 on Instagram asks, have there been any situations that have really bonded you all? If so, how?
I mean, the first thought that entered my mind was pretty much every day. We spend a lot of time together right now, and it's been that way for the past several months. So I don't know that we could point to a single thing. We spend long hours every day in simulators and training vehicles all over the world. That's what we're coming off of. We travel together. Last time we went to Russia, we were sitting on the airplane together side by side for 16 hours. We spend a lot of time together. So we're, I think we're bonded by now, and I think most of us feel pretty good about that. Yeah, I don't know. One of the things that did feel like bonding for me anyway was the first time we walked into SpaceX together. I'd never been there, but it really felt real to me when we went into that factory for the first time. You see the rockets, you see their vehicles, and the experience becomes really real because you just start getting into this spaceship with your crewmates every day and starting their training flow. So I feel that we sort of came together a lot then, but there's probably other examples. I just think that if you spend every day, all day with people, you're going to bond with them.
All right, we have another question on the phone. We have Richard Trudeau with the Orlando Sentinel.
Hi, thanks for taking the second question. This is about Luke's class to fly and the announcement that Denise Burnham is going to maybe be the one to come up. I just want to know, you're kind of in the middle of the class in terms of getting to space. You're excited to see your classmates up there when you get there, and just what it's like being a member of that class and your contribution to NASA at this point. Thanks.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see the class fly. No matter where you're at in the sequence, we're going to be meeting Anil up there. He's part of our class. Denise coming up right behind to replace him. Working closely with both of those two throughout astronaut training, it's really just satisfying, I think, to see everybody coming together and joining up on orbit at some level, taking all those years of training and putting them forward into, being good stewards of station, executing some science, doing some sustainability operations up there. I know just having talked recently to Denise, she's super excited about getting up there, and maybe I'm slightly hoping we get delayed a little bit so we have some overlaps so that way we can have 3 flies back to back kind of that have sequenced up there. We got that chain going with Chris Williams having just returned a couple weeks ago. So it is exciting seeing all the flies kind of working through their sequence of flights here.
We're going to take one final question on social media, and they ask, how would you describe the feeling of being part of a team that is so incredibly influential?
For me, it's definitely difficult to put into words, and I'm not sure exactly which team the poster is asking about. But for me, we are certainly a crew and a team in of ourselves, but we really are the representation of a huge team of people. Josh alluded to it at the beginning, but we are the tip of this spear, the kind of the head of the iceberg, the visible part of an incredible team of people that make spaceflight happen. We are asking about kind of one of the most surprising aspects of human spaceflight, and I think the amount of people that it takes to make it happen and do so seamlessly that it makes it look easy every time, that is such an incredible effort to represent and to be a part of. And so I'm just really grateful for that opportunity, and it is a true honor and a privilege.
And with that, we are going to go ahead and conclude today's news conference. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and go Crew 13.